Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here today with us on our webinar. My name is Bob Mitchell. I am an account manager down here in Florida, covering the Southeast, and we have Columbus Cali, who is handling the Midwest. Is that your territory, Columbus?
Yeah. I mainly cover the majority of the central U.S. and then as far as sales goes, and then of course, anytime it comes down to service or any kind of support, that's always, of course, nationwide.
Yes, sir. Well, Columbus has been with the company quite a while, handling a lot of hats, so he knows what he's doing there. Today, we're going to be talking about protecting and maintaining your electric pallet jack batteries, or what we call EPJs. Just a little bit to talk about the scope of what we're doing. We're going to talk about the benefits of EPJs or common issues with them, some preventative maintenance, what we can do to make them last longer, how it gets hooked up to shore power, and some maintenance and common issues with that. Our TAPS charging solution, of course, TAPS standing for Trailer Auxiliary Power Systems, mounting locations for the TAPS or for our TAPS product, and of course, preventative maintenance and diagnostics. So let's get into it. One of the first things we want to talk about, what are the benefits of pallet jacks? You know, a lot of fleets have them, some fleets don't, some that are a little bit behind, but there's so much benefits to having electric pallet jacks, and obviously increased efficiency, not having to manually load and unload or pull pallets around. And there's a safety factor to that too. A lot of different safety pieces to the electric pallet jack, and enhanced productivity. Just able to carry more, able to pull more, able to move more in a more effective way. Some of the benefits, you know, obviously we want to try and protect our drivers as fleets. We want to make it as easy as possible for our fleets and our drivers to get around. So we're reducing the physical strain. That electric pallet jack's doing a lot of that work. And with that, you're going to increase the pool of drivers. You're going to have drivers that are much more happy, much more willing to work with your fleet, or do those stay with your fleet if they're having an easier time at their job. And of course, as we mentioned before, it's a higher load capacity for the EPJ. Just is able to do much more. And of course, that equates to a cost savings over time as you're using the EPJ. But there are common issues with electric pallet jacks. Sometimes, you know, anytime you're dealing with a battery, anytime you're dealing with an electrical component, get disconnected, things can become, batteries can become severely discharged. And when those batteries don't work, then you're stuck with a big hunk of metal there that's not moving. So EPJ batteries can become severely discharged. It must be removed from the trailer to charge. You know, you put them in your trailer at night, or you got to, in the mornings, you got to go load them up and unload them. That can be a hassle from time to time. It ties up warehouse space. You know, I'm sure some of you, and we'll have a poll question in just a second about what kind of space you guys have at your warehouse for just that, for charging electric pallet jacks. And they may get used by the warehouse and not get charged. Believe it or not, I'm sure you have some guys there at the warehouse that may not be great at charging things as they need to be charged, and then you get stuck with it on your truck sometimes. So we're going to first poll question. We're going to get all you guys involved here. If you would answer A, B, C, or D, but we're going to talk about what are the disadvantages of pallet jacks. We talked about some of the advantages. What are the disadvantages? We got A, they have to be removed from the truck to charge. B, charging takes up valuable warehouse space. C, batteries can become severely discharged. Or D, all of the above. I'm going to take a few seconds here, let you guys log in your answers, and then we'll talk about that a little bit further. Columbus, you don't have to answer this.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
All right, so we looks like we have some people jumping in, so let's go ahead and see what the results are. Oh, and just all you guys paying attention and doing the right thing. Yes, we just discussed this. It is all of the above. Absolutely. Yeah, I think you probably had that right, didn't you, Columbus?
I mean, I thought that I did at one point, but then I got to second guessing myself. So, you know, I kind of panicked, kept my
always go with your first answer. Yeah, all of those situations right there. are some of the disadvantages of pallet jacks. And like I said, it's just some of the stuff we talked about. And of course, you guys might be thinking of some other disadvantages as well, but those are the ones that we covered. So we're going to be getting on to preventative maintenance. And so preventative maintenance, Columbus, I'm going to let you talk about that.
Yeah, buddy. So when we start talking about preventative maintenance, just like anything on any of your trailers, your equipment, your tractors, anything in life, really, we have to have a good means of upkeeping that. So developing a good PM schedule or a PM practice within your company or at a different terminal or warehouse can really, really be crucial to the overall life expectancy and the lifespan of your electric pallet jack batteries. So over here, we've kind of broken down, how generically, you would want to approach, developing a PM cycle or a PM schedule, starting off with a daily inspection of the batteries, a visual inspection of the pallet jack itself, as well as some of your hydraulic inspections, because this is something that a driver could easily do on his pre-trip inspection before he heads out for the day, and could potentially, save him a lot of headache and hassle as time goes on throughout his route. And then as we start working into a more of a longer kind of plan, we can look into our weeklies with, making sure everything is lubed properly. All of your grease points and stuff are all hit, doing your tire and wheel inspections, as well as your brake inspections, because as Bob mentioned before, these things do weigh a lot. So it is very crucial to make sure that all of those components are working and functioning properly, or else you could just have a runaway freight train down a hill in San Francisco if you're not careful. And then as we look at the monthly plan, this is where it becomes a little bit more crucial to the battery aspects for longevity, right? So for all of our flooded lead acid cell batteries, that's where you're going to have to start monitoring your water level inspections and making sure that when you are looking at these things, that they're properly topped off with the right water to the electrolyte ratio. And then go through and do the rest of your electrical inspections, inspect your cabling, inspect all of the gauges, the wiring, anything that could potentially prevent this pallet jack from functioning any means throughout operation. And then go ahead and do a quick inspection of your forks. That's one thing that a lot of folks will kind of skip over. They see it, it's like, okay, it's straight, it's good to go. But you could have a latch that's broke. Those forks should be sliding all over the place and then potentially causing damage elsewhere. But as we go through and we start talking a little bit more about battery inspections, the first thing that we always have to do with any kind of high voltage is disconnecting those batteries, because obviously electric pallet jacks typically run off of a 24-volt system, sometimes higher depending on how big or industrialized these pallet jacks are. And once you have gone through and disconnected your power, now you want to start doing your visual inspections for, say, corrosion, cracks, or leaks, anything that's going to ruin the integrity or the structural side of that battery. And again, kind of reiterating what we just talked about, is going through and inspecting your water levels. Now, I've been asked this in the past, is, can I go through and can I fill this battery up with tap water? And the absolute answer is no. You only want to use distilled water or distilled ionized water. And that is just so that everything is going to bounce back and start charging properly and maintaining that charge the way that you want it to get that longevity out of that battery. When it comes down to our electrical inspections, just like on any other area of the truck and trailer system, you want to make sure that you're checking for proper connections and terminations. This could be everything from any kind of Anderson connectors, as you see in these pictures here, to Deutsch plugs elsewhere on the trailer. And then we're going to be turning around and looking for signs of heat or wear damage. And by this, I mean, if you're looking at a set of cables and you see red that starts to fade to pink, that fades out to white. Obviously, there was some heat buildup right there that could have had a lot of resistance buildup right there in that area, whether it has been pinched wire over time, whether the copper that's underneath that sheathing is damaged itself. All signs that we need to take a little extra look. And then obviously we're looking for tight connections because, again, any kind of a loose connection is going to build up a bit of resistance or heat, which could potentially lead to long-term issues down the road. For our visual inspections, obviously this doesn't need any in-depth explanation. Obviously we're looking for chafing and rubbing, as you can see over here on the left, and just making sure that before we put these pallet jacks into service or before we send them out on a route, there's not anything that could potentially cause harm to the driver or the equipment itself. Again, quick and easy type things that we can do in our pre-trip inspections will and can, make or break for the rest of the day. Now, on the warehouse side of things, when we start talking about battery chargers themselves and how we maintain these electric pallet jacks, we have to understand what exactly we're working with. What is on our pallet jacks? Are we dealing with internal chargers? Are we dealing with external chargers? And they can easily be kind of identified. So obviously, over on the left side, typically that is going to be where you would just plug in an extension cord and everything is on board, does it itself. As you can see on the right side, when we start talking about external chargers, we have a standalone system that is then going to be feeding power to that battery, maintaining and regulating until it gets topped off properly. Now, there are other options for charging these electric pallet jacks that can be beneficial in some terms, but also might require a little bit of extra work. So that being shore power. So what is shore power? Shore power is going to be an onboard charging system for the, or a charging pass-through, I should say, on the trailer that would allow you to plug in 110 AC voltage and charge while the trailer is docked or while it's setting out on a lot, whether it's going through pre-cooling staging or anything like that. This is another means that you could use to charge and maintain that pallet jack without having to pull it from the trailer. Now, yes, this is going to be more driver dependent. It is going to be relying upon the driver to plug in and disconnect that extension cord that is going to be used to power this or push power to the pallet jack. And it might require a little bit more of electrical infrastructure to be laid out before we start digging in and fitting these on trailers. And by that, I mean you may have to have power ran to the middle of your staging lot or your just a storage lot where you stage all your trailers. Or you may have to run additional power to your dock bays. But, when we start digging into how shore power actually works, typically when you run into these situations or these applications, they're going to be mounted on the front of the trailer, which is very conveniently placed so that it allows the driver to say, okay, well, I've already parked this here. I'm going to go ahead and plug in. And then usually it gives the driver the heads up saying, hey, look, I need to disconnect this before I pull away. But its main focus is to serve as a pass-through to the rear of the trailer. Because if you're dealing with a fully loaded trailer and you're trying to charge a pallet jack, it doesn't make much sense to put that charge plug at the very front of the interior of the trailer. So we tend to try to charge towards the rear just for simplicity's sake. But that leads us to our next being the rear mounted receptacles. So typically there's a linkage between the front and the rear. And when these things are mounted, they tend to have a very convenient height so that you're not having to reach over or under too much to be able to plug things in. And it usually comes with a weatherproof cover because we don't always know if these are going to be installed in dry van applications or if they're going to be in reefer applications. So as we move through and we start talking a little bit more about our TAPS charging solutions, I'm going to turn it over to Bob and let him kind of fill you in on some of the stuff that we've got going on there. So Bob, take it away, bud.
Yeah, thank you for that, Columbus. As we mentioned before, the TAPS stands for our Trailer Auxiliary Power Systems. One of our products that addresses some of these things that we're talking about, and talk about how TAPS works. It's converting that DC power from the tractor to a 110 power for your trailer. And as Columbus mentioned, typically you want to mount that to the back of the trailer, but we'll discuss that a little bit later. But what it's doing is it's providing a plug to plug your electric pallet jack in on the trailer that's running off of the alternator and battery of the tractor. So only charges when the tractor's running, of course. And it keeps the tractor and trailer electrical systems balanced. One of the big things that Purkeys does, it never charges electric pallet jacks or liftgate batteries or any other systems that we do. It doesn't charge that at the expense of the tractor. So if your tractor batteries aren't at a full state of charge, the TAP system is going to cut out. That's one of the safety features that we have. We will talk about that a little bit more too, but that's good to know and good to reference right here. So we call it opportunity charging, much like when you get in your car and you put your iPhone and hook it up to your to a charger in the car. You're going to be in the car for 20 minutes. Let's go ahead and charge the phone while we're going down the road. We're doing the same thing with our electric pallet jacks through this TAPS system. It's going to extend the life of the battery. Basic battery is battery maintenance is as the battery discharges, the deeper state of discharge it gets into, the less that battery is going to work and the less life you're going to have for that battery. So we're keeping that battery topped off all the time, and then you're going to get more life from it. You're going to get a lot better activity from it. So anytime the trailer's running between stops, you stop over here, you move cases, whatever it may be, you move product. When you get back in the truck, start the tractor back up, and you got a 30-minute drive to your next stop. That EPJ is getting charged up. And again, we talked about providing power to the back of the trailer. As you see from this box here, that's our inverter in there, hooks into the front of the trailer, and then of course you have power at the back of the trailer. A 110 plug for you there. And again, allows the charging while the vehicle's running, keeps the electric pallet jack charged while you're on a run. It's enclosed in a rugged stainless steel case. And I'm sorry, Columbus, what is that rated to? That has a, I know you know this.
It has to be somewhere. I have to go back and look at it, but I want to say that it's around an IP68 rating.
Yeah, I put you on the spot there. I'm sorry, buddy, but yeah.
No, and sometimes I need that, but yeah, I'd have to go back and take a look because we have so many different features that kind of are packed off into these just to make it as sound and secure as possible.
Sure.
So it's hard to label them all off.
Yeah, the point of me asking that is I know that we can mount it on the outside of the trailer and it is waterproof. It is the corrosive elements of the road are not going to get to it is the point in saying all that. So it is a rugged, secure stainless steel case. All right, so we've got another poll question here. And this really comes down to what your company does as far as dedicated warehouse, but how much square footage is dedicated in your warehouse for electric pallet jack charging? So your warehouse, maybe the big warehouse you work for or overall, but do you have A, 0 to 1,000 feet, B, 1,000 to 3,000 feet, C, 3,000 to 4,000, or D, 4,000 plus? How much of that is dedicated to electric pallet jack charging? All right, we're going to move on from there. See what we got. About 1,000 to 3,000 square feet is what we're hearing from everybody here. There again, the importance of asking that question is that's how much warehouse space that you could have for product, but that you're dedicating to charging electric pallet jacks. A product like TAPS is going to eliminate that. You can keep the electric pallet jack charging within the trailer and not eat up warehouse space for just charging. So this is a graph that hopefully you guys can look into and read, but we have data recorders that we put on electric pallet jack batteries with taps and without taps. And you can see obviously the fluctuations of when the batteries get run down or the batteries get used and then they get charged back up. But the important line here to look at is the orange line going across the 20 there. You know, we're talking about a 24 volt battery. We don't want that battery to drop below 20 volts. There again, the more the battery drops below 20, it goes into a deeper state of discharge, the shorter lifespan it has. That battery has to bounce back. The more it has to bounce back, the lifespan gets shorter. So as you can see without taps, as the pallet jack gets used up and down, the battery drops below that 20 volt threshold that we talked about, and it does so probably 8 or 9 times throughout the course of that use right there. So you're going to be limiting the use, limiting the quality of that battery. And at some point in time, that battery is going to give out. And at some point in time, a driver may get stuck on the road, stuck with in the doorway with a couple cases of product that he can't move because the battery's gone bad. So the tap system helps eliminate that. As you can see with the tap system, all of that charge and discharge is above that 20 volt threshold. Therefore, it's going to keep the battery in a good state of charge. And it's going to extend the life of that battery. Wouldn't you agree, Columbus?
I would, and to add to that, if we're really looking into this, a little bit more in depth, is as you can see on the top, due to that amount of discharge, you start to see a little bit less use out of that pallet jack compared to how you would with the tap system. Now that we are able to take, advantage of that opportune charging through the tap system, that lift or that pallet jack is now being put into more use a lot more frequently, or has the ability to be used more frequently than say, a trailer that was unequipped with it.
Sure.
Because the biggest thing is every fleet is going to be different. Every customer is going to have different use cases for their pallet jacks. But one thing is for certain, they need to be charged when they need them, to again, prevent, drivers ending up with dead batteries, or being able to, have to throw their hands up and say, hey, look, I can't go any further because, obviously my pallet jack doesn't work, so how does that play out, on the back end, so I think that this is a good representation of the capabilities that we can do, by taking advantage of onboard opportune charging.
That's exactly right. And that's why this product is effective for us. So we're going to talk about some applications. As Columbus just mentioned, everyone's got their own fleet. They've got their own way that they run their fleet and applications that they have for it. So we're just going to kind of cover a few of them that kind of fit into a large mold, but we obviously could always customize solutions for what your fleet may need. But it's just a basic straight truck configuration. You've got the taps inverter towards the front of the truck running off the 4 batteries there. And then of course the receptacle in the back, pulls power from the truck batteries, allows charging in transit, just like we talked about, that opportune charging. And it has controller logic to protect those cranking batteries. As I mentioned to you before, Purkeys systems are never going to jeopardize that truck starting. Yeah, great, your electric pallet jack batteries get charged, but we don't want to do that at the cost of now my truck doesn't start. So we have that logic built within especially our TAPS product, but any of our liftgate charging systems as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And, to add to that, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to step in,
That's all right.
but one of the big things is, and I know it's something that we haven't quite touched on yet, but it doesn't just have to be, electric pallet jacks that we're able to kind of assist with,
Sure.
as far as keeping charged and maintained. As you can see, in the picture to the right here, it's not your typical application to where you'd be parking a pallet jack up front. So for customers that are running mobile repair fleets. This could be a way to keep their equipment or lights or monitors or computer systems and stuff going. We have customers that use this for internet routers, just to constantly ensure that they have power while they are en route or while they are working on a job site. So keep in mind, even if in the back of your mind, that this is not just strictly limited to pallet jacks, but essentially with Purkeys obviously being a battery solutions provider, we're always looking to expand and, looking to figure out what we can do. But the pallet jack market has obviously seen, such a huge success with this. So it started to become a very universal application to be able to fit any kind of charging needs.
Sure. Anywhere you want a 110, this is able to provide that power to you. And as you can see here, they've got a printer set up here and different things set up. So very customizable. And then of course you have the trailer dual pole configuration. In a typical 93-foot trailer, you have the two boxes in the front, one for for a dual pole. Your taps is set up either there or you can go under the trailer, whatever it may be. But then you have the wire running all the way to the back where you can plug in that pallet jack or whatever else we're talking about. Of course, we're running off the tractor batteries there. Again, we're extending charge time when we're going down the road. It's great for trailers that don't have lift gates, but does provide pallet jack to door-to-door deliveries. And again, we talked about that controller logic that protects the cranking batteries. We always want the tractor to get up and run and start and get down the road. Then, of course, we have a liftgate battery configuration that we can run off the tractor batteries or off the liftgate batteries, whatever it may be. Same tap system, same outlet at the end of the trailer, and you're plugging in through the dual pole to the front of the trailer or whatever it may be. But that's a configuration that we can work with as well. Again, pulling power from the liftgate batteries, extend runtime, works in tandem with your liftgate charging system. So a lot of times we have a Purkeys liftgate system, whereas our liftgate batteries are getting charged from the alternator and the starter batteries, and thus charging the tap system. So our two systems work very well hand in hand and marry up very well. And again, there's that controller logic that we talked about. The cranking batteries are going to be priority number one. Liftgate batteries are probably priority number two, and then priority number three in this situation would be the tap system. So the tap system isn't going to pull from the liftgates unless the liftgate batteries are fully charged. And similarly, the liftgate batteries aren't going to pull from the starter unless they're fully charged. So that good logic there, again, keeps your drivers happy because their truck's not stuck somewhere. You're not having to do a road call. So that's the idea behind how we do that and why we do that. So now we're going to talk about running taps off of liftgate batteries. And Columbus, I'm going to hand that over to you.
Sure thing, and be happy to. So as Bob was saying, we do have so many different variations when it comes down to our capabilities of being able to charge and protect these pallet jack batteries. And liftgate batteries are another utilization that we can pull from as a power source. However, the one thing to always remember, if you're looking into a certain application such as this, is you've got to have something to feed those batteries. For the liftgate batteries, that is, essentially because, as Bob was saying with our prioritization system, is one, we don't want you to end up with dead truck batteries or compromise those batteries in any way. And if we're pulling off of the liftgate batteries, well, we don't want to compromise that, because then you just have a pallet jack that's charged, but you have to keep it in the trailer because you can't get it up and down because the liftgate's dead. Now, right. As we start going through on how we would utilize some of these things, we first need to understand, how do you want to install this? Because remember back before, I was saying how this is a pretty universal system. You've got a lot of flexibility when it comes down to this system. Do you want to mount it on the interior of the trailer? Typically those that do choose this option, they like to mount it up towards the front of the trailer, towards the nose, kind of keeps it out of harm's way a little bit, allows for, minimalistic damage, if possible. Um, but it comes with enough harness, because of, so many different variations that you can practically mount this anywhere. Uh, and then as you can see up here in the top right, we've got one of our older tap systems, but it is wedged right there in the corner uh, at the top left of that trailer. Uh, and in the picture below,
Columbus,
you can see our harness that runs from front to the back. Go ahead, Bob.
I was just going to interrupt. I'm interrupting you this time, but
Sure.
one of the things about our mounting, with our mounting, as you can see, there's a light on that TAPS product that tells us that it's at an optimal state of charge. Anytime we mount this somewhere, we want to be able to see that, and your drivers want to be able to see that too. I don't know if we talk about it as much as we should. We've got good LED indicators letting people know, hey, we're working, we're doing what we should be doing. Our products in the right state of charge. So.
Absolutely. And that is one thing that we will touch on here in just a bit. But as Bob mentioned, yeah, we do have a lot of indicators, and that is again, so that driver is looking back and he is, wanting to verify and make sure that everything is charging properly. He has that heads up kind of display saying, okay, green's all good. Now, we can go ahead and proceed with everything without the worry of the pallet jack not being charged.
That's right.
And this is another big one. This is one that, we've started to kind of see take a little bit more interest as years have gone by. But that's exterior mounting. Obviously, when we were talking about, over the road loads or even, final mile stuff, we want to be able to load these trailers as much as possible without, throwing in anything on the interior side as needed, just so that we have that extra space. So we've seen a lot of customers and a lot of fleets that have been looking to mount these types of systems underneath the trailer, straight on the cross members. Typically, when we're talking about taps in general, it has a lot of slotted flanges on there so that you can go through and hit a mark, that usually spans between 2 to 3 cross members, just for making sure that you're getting a very good secure hold on there. But the nice caveat about that is that you now have a short run to those liftgate batteries if you're looking to utilize that as a charge source. And now, again, going to more of a safety standard, we now have less exposed cabling that is going to be on the interior of that trailer, so that kind of leaves a little bit less off the table when it comes down to in terms of damage. So that is going to definitely be a nice thing for different fleets that may have a lot of commotion going on in the trailer. But again, going back to those LEDs is now, depending on how you mount this, the driver may have an even easier way of being able to verify that the system is operating correctly. And this has been something that, again, we have started to see a little bit more of an uptick as well. And this is being able to mount the tap system on certain liftgate battery box hangers or pump box hangers. And again, this is going to allow you to have a short run to those liftgate batteries if you're utilizing those as a charge source. Again, less exposed cabling on the interior side of the trailer. And as far as a serviceability and a verification, method for drivers or technicians, now with this mounted on the side of the battery box, you're not having to crawl up underneath to be able to service these types of things should you ever have to. And then if you notice down on the bottom right of that picture, we have a status on there, which is another one of our products, which is a more of a voltage or a state of charge display that gives the driver or whoever may be servicing these trailers a heads-up display saying, hey, look, this is how my batteries are sitting. Obviously we're at a good point. System should be functioning properly. All is good. So leads us off into another poll question, and this is going to be one that you know definitely could be different, from fleet to fleet. So how many times have you had a service call on an electric pallet jack due to severely discharged batteries in the last 6 months? Now, this could be, again, different for every fleet, but it kind of goes to show uh, how how well are we maintaining these batteries? What is the use cycle? There's a lot of different variables that go into to trying to understand and trying to see how us here at Purkeys can offer support. But it gives us an idea of where you're currently standing right now. So we'll give you a few seconds to go through and submit your answers on this, and then we will start to move on.
Obviously, any of those calls are costing you money, costing your driver irritation, big problems.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in hindsight, or I guess in future terms, we would love to see that at zero.
Yep.
But unfortunately, we don't live in such a perfect world just yet. All right. So we're going to go ahead for the sake of time, and we're going to move on.
Yeah.
So we've kind of got it split down the middle here. Half of us are seeing 0 to 5 service calls, and then others seeing 5 to 10. So as you can tell, we've got some differences there, but nonetheless, a service call these days is averaging a little bit more than what it used to probably about 10 years ago. And now that we're talking about batteries, now we're talking about hindrances of deliveries getting done on time, customer satisfaction, not only for you as the fleet, but for your customers as well. So we'll go ahead and continue on. And we will start talking a little bit more in depth on some of the other components that goes into making all of this stuff work effectively. So that being the AC power conduit. So as you can see, hard to miss. It's very vibrant. We've got a high-vis orange conduit there, which indicates high voltage or lethal voltage. That as a recommended practice, that it has to be this color if it's going to be installed in any kind of application. Now, it is also designed to protect that wiring from the taps enclosure to the mounted receptacle, so it can definitely withstand a beating, but definitely don't go after it and see how many times that you can take a stab at it with those fork trucks, because it does come undone. Now, as we start talking about that AC power receptacle, and we've touched on it briefly in prior slides, but it is mounted closer to the rear of the trailer because, again, as these trailers are being loaded, there is a threshold that they have to load up to, and then that's where the pallet jack will end up sitting. And we try to make that as convenient as possible, putting it as close to the rear door as we can to, again, prevent some of that potential danger or damage. But it puts it in a convenient enough spot to where the driver can easily reach up and plug that in during the route without having too much strain or having to reach over any kind of product or pallets that may be in the way. Again, touching a little bit more on that weatherproof cover to prevent water intrusion. We don't know what these systems are being installed on. So whether it be a dry van or a reefer trailer, we just want to make sure that we're prepared for all scenarios. Getting ahead of myself here. So when we start to talk about the receptacle in general, we do have two different configurations when it comes down to the housing for that receptacle. So as you can see in this picture here, we have a little bit more of a trapezoidal kind of design, which was really intuitive, to how, fleets operate with some of their fork trucks. It was put in the mindset of we want to be able to deflect as much of those forks as possible should they ever come in contact, and save some of the integrity of that trailer from this system being ripped off. But yeah, as we can read through here, we've got a reinforced nylon material for the durability aspect, but it's beveled to deflect some of those fork trucks or freight. Now, when we start talking about some of our reefer trailers, we do have a housing here that is designed to be recessed into the wall to give more of a flush mount appearance, but as well, it kind of opens up the door for us to be able to install that orange flex conduit that you saw in previous slides on the interior of those walls, behind some of the foam and everything, which again is added protection, and still being able to maintain that durability. Now, when we start talking about, as we're pulling power off of the liftgate batteries, there's a lot going on in the battery box itself. So where do we fit in all of that trying to pull power? How are we protecting on this side of things? So when we are pulling power off the liftgate batteries, we always want to have some sort of circuit protection that is in place to prevent any kind of potential unnoticed risk, such as a battery shorting out, another component on the trailer, malfunctioning, which could then short out in other areas and send unwanted discharge voltage back. So as you can notice here on this left battery, we have a fuse bracket that's on there with a fuse cube, typically rated at 150 amps, sometimes higher, depending on use case. But that is designed to catch any of those short circuit scenarios, and it will pop that fuse before it makes its way back to the tap system to prevent any heavy damage.
Sure.
Now, this is where I will go ahead and kind of turn it over to Bob here and let him talk a little bit more about some of the different variances in the systems that we can offer.
Yeah, thank you, Columbus. I know we're kind of running short on time here, so I'll kind of breeze through this, but not without answering questions or trying to get to our point. But as we talked about before with those liftgate charging systems, they interact very well with our tap system. We have a dual pole powered with a Purkeys liftgate charging system box, as you see here. It's equipped with that dual pole for the tap system. Of course, it's made of reinforced nylon 66 and weatherproof and water intrusion proof, and able to handle the snow and the sleet and all those different things that every other state gets aside from Florida. So very safe and over-engineered, much like Columbus just talked about with the recessed door, the beveled receptacles. We're trying to make it very safe and very sturdy for all applications. And of course, then here's our standalone nose box. This comes with a kit, our Purkeys One Connect dual pole kit nose box for the trailer. Obviously mounts right to the front where you can plug the dual pole into it. Again, reinforced nylon 66. It's designed to serve as a dual pole receptacle alternative and designed to meet those harsh weather conditions that we just talked about, to take care of that. So preventative maintenance and diagnostics, we're getting into, Columbus and I have covered a lot of this different stuff throughout the course of this. We're going to kind of wrap it up here with some different things. I mentioned earlier, and Columbus did as well, some of the indicators. One of the things Purkeys does a great job of is has indicators. There's an indicator light on the receptacle. There's an indicator light on the actual box that shows, hey, greens go. And here you're going to see some of the codes that we have. A green solid means that the TAPS unit is functioning. If you get something that's blinking or that's an orange solid or whatever it may be, you can see the different things that are going to need to be done there. And of course, there's a code label on the side of the TAPS to let the driver know, oh man, I've got yellow solid. What does this mean? You say, as you can read here, it's going to be overpowered. what do we need to do about that? And we're going to be there to provide help for you in that situation. So these are all indicator stuff to let your driver know when we're moving in the right direction and when we're not. The inverter itself, as I said, you can see from the box there, it's going to have those two green solid indicator lights. We always want to see that. We're going to check the positive and negative terminals on the inverter, look for source voltage from either tractor or liftgate batteries. We can plug in other tools or electronics to test. Okay, I just see where there's a question come up, and I want to address it real quick from Brandon. I actually am going to be your contact for your Tampa, Florida region. So I'll reach out to you at some point in time after this, Brandon. But yeah, I just saw your question come up there. So the AC receptacle that goes within that housing that we talked about before, again, has a green indicator light to let you know when it gets plugged in that it actually is working, that you're going to see a green indicator light on the inverter. You're going to see a green indicator light on this AC receptacle. So there's all kinds of good communication to let your driver know that we're doing the right thing that we need to do as a system. And of course, you can plug other tools into it as well, whether it be a power drill or any sort of corded thing that you might need at the back of the tractor. So we got a last poll question for you here. What is your company policy if an electric pallet jack battery discharges completely on the job? So let's say worst case scenario, you don't have the tap system going and you're out on the job and your electric pallet jack goes down. What is your official company policy? Is it time for the driver? Is it time for the driver to hand the load back, load the truck in the warehouse? Let me, if I can read that correctly. Time for the driver to hand load the truck. So the driver has to take all those things that were on the pallet jack and hand load it. That's answer number A. B, time for your driver to take a break until another electric pallet jack can be utilized. So wait for another electric pallet jack to come by. C, take the rest of the day off. Some drivers will do that, I suppose. Or D, time to think about getting a tap system to ensure this does not happen again. So those are your 4 solutions when your electric pallet jack goes out on the job and the battery discharges. Let's see what we have for some answers here. Oh, and surprisingly, you guys all came up with the right answer. That's right. It's going to talk about getting a tap system. Doing this this type of system is going to keep your batteries from getting discharged. It's going to keep you from having your drivers from having to hand load what they have on that pallet jack, or to take a break, or to wait until another electric pallet jack shows up. So trailer leasing fleets. Columbus, you and I are going to kind of chat about this.
Yeah. So when we start to talk about, taps in terms of, how's it going to benefit you as a fleet, or if you are a leasing fleet, how is that going to benefit you in the long run? It's an added benefit to your end user. It's going to be a nice caveat to them that they may not otherwise get through another leasing agent.
You're not just giving them a truck, you're giving them a solution. Hey, we're able to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're giving them something that could potentially save them money as well in the long run. And that kind of leads us over into the reduced maintenance cost. So now we're looking at less strenuous man hours or road calls or anything like that due to dead batteries or discharged batteries on your pallet jacks. But it's also going to improve your uptime. If you can rely on these pallet jacks to be, charging and throughout the route, that means that per stop, they're getting more put in than they are being taken out, theoretically. So it's going to keep your drivers moving a lot more fluidly. It's going to be adding value to not only you as the leasing fleet or as a fleet in general, but to your customers, because now they're being able to rely on their deliveries to be on time, and making sure that there's no hiccups along the way, which in turn, obviously, gives us an enhanced overall customer experience. because that's what we're all out here, to make sure that our customers are happy, to make sure that they have what they need when they need it, and they're not stuck with some of these headaches that comes along with, service calls or discharged batteries. Um,
That's
yeah,
the name. That's the name of the game, right?
absolutely.
Let's move product as fast as we possibly can. So, custom charging solutions cater to your needs. I know we both have talked about this as well. We're able to do a number of different things based upon what number of different things you're doing as a fleet. We can come up with a system that's going to make it work for you. We have kits that are available for any type of application that you might have, whether it be moving sodas, moving beers, moving anything heavy, to just having computers or whatever it may be in the back to print off whatever you need. So certainly customizable. And we came up with a number of different kits and that sort of thing to work with within reason. Obviously, if you're only doing a onesie twosie, we may not be able to come up with a full custom kit. But for any sort of reasonable application, we will work with you, work with your customer, work with your company to get you what you need to get your batteries charged and electric pallet jack batteries charged. So we get into different types of applications too. We're able to charge with solar as well, to make your trailer an island, meaning that it can kind of fully functionally charge itself, be self-sustaining. So some solar on the top of the trailer can obviously charge your liftgate batteries, can obviously charge your electric pallet jack through the tap system. This kind of thing ensures that liftgate and pallet jack batteries start off with a high state of charge, because there again, that's opportunity charging as well. Anytime your trailer is sitting in the sun, we have that kind of capability as well. Have different added accessories that we can put in there. Some of these things are great for retrofit as far as putting a universal mounting plate on receptacle, keeping it a little bit more sturdy, giving it a good uniform look to it, and makes it less likely to get pinched or get bumped or get wrecked by forks or whatever it may be, when drivers get a little careless. So we have some of those added accessories available to you.
Right. And another thing is, if you think about it, without some of these, solutions such as this mounting plate, it takes a lot of man hours to turn around and turn these custom kits or custom plates that you kind of see over here on the right side, even through traditional installs. So if you're looking at an OEM install, they may have to fab this up. That could potentially take an hour, could take 2 hours. So we're all about trying to make sure that you have everything in your kit that is needed. And that is one thing that, I would say that we are always so great about, is being able to provide these custom solutions, as needed to fit your needs.
That's exactly right. And you mentioned this earlier too, Columbus. A status is a product that we have that the driver's able to mount at the side of the TAPS box right back by the liftgate battery, but tells the driver exactly what the status of the batteries are, 12.6, 12.8, 12.1, whatever it may be.
Right, absolutely. And while we're on this one, just really quick, we've got a couple more before we need to call her quits. But it is helpful during diagnostics. Not all drivers are traveling around with multimeters or set of tools for that matter. So this kind of gives them an idea of, if they happen to call in for help, whether it be to us or through wherever this trailer belongs, it kind of gives them a starting point, or at least an idea of where they need to start pushing a little bit more focus. So again, just the little things. Same with as we start talking about some of these battery box mounted. So we can make different brackets to mount in just about anywhere. What it does, it's going to be one of those things that'll provide a more consistent install regardless of who's doing the install. It's a faster install because now you're not having to, go through the strenuous labor of mounting it underneath or mounting it on the interior. You can have a nice little hanging spot there on the battery box, and it's just ease of access, easy pre-trip inspections. And this one here has, caught a lot of eyes over the years. Is, yes, obviously, the scuff plate on the interior of a trailer goes up probably about 12 inches. And sometimes we're not always able to work behind that. So this is a means of being able to provide a little extra protection for that that exposed conduit that may be there, and helping to provide a little bit of extra durability to the whole system and scenario as we start talking about it. Again, you'll hear it a lot. Is it's the little things, the things that we may not think about in the grand scheme, but it's one of those things that can definitely help us. So this here is a prime example of a custom kit. And when we call it a custom kit, and every other kit that we provide, is everything for a complete installation is included from start to finish, down to potential pre-terminated and pre-measured wires. So if you don't want to have any waste, if you know exactly what you're working with, this is how we can go about ensuring that gets put into place. Same with any kind of mounting brackets. And the convenient part about all of this is it comes all bundled in one single part number. So now you're not split up with 7 or 8 different part numbers at the end of the day when you call in to try to order. Now it is just a single part number, has everything completely catered to your needs for you in one part number. And then, of course, we wouldn't be anything if it weren't for you guys. So that is why we are 100% service oriented. So should you have issues with an install, should you want reassurance during diagnostics, or you want further training, we're always here to help. Obviously, we've been in the game for a little bit, so definitely no stranger to showing up at your doorsteps.
For sure.
But with that being said, I know we only have about a minute left, so if you have any questions whatsoever, please let them be known now. And if you wouldn't mind, please stay tuned till after this webinar. We've got a brief survey for you there. Would love to hear some feedback on stuff that we are doing now, as well as some future webinars that you might like to see going forward.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you again, guys. Thank you for the time today. And as Columbus mentioned, we're always available to help you out at any point in time in need. Reach out to us. And thank you again for attending.
All right. Thanks, guys.